Welcome to another episode of Entrepreneurs in Fuego. We're documenting the journey of incredible entrepreneurs. My new best friend. I feel like I've known you for a long time,
well,
Scott.
We know some of the same people.
We
here.
know a lot of the same people. Scott Fischer, President of Options for Senior Living. Tell us more about Options.
Well, Options started in 2003. I had been a nurse. I'd gotten out of nursing school back in the 80s, and I'd served primarily in the areas of education and mental health services, and I had developed kind of an expertise in the area of seniors and senior mental health, seniors that were struggling with different forms in the psychiatric symptoms that come along with dementia care.
Sure.
And so there was an emerging need that I saw where folks were placing their loved ones in assisted living care, and it didn't necessarily match up with the needs or the care needs that their loved ones had. And so as I was a visiting nurse into some of those situations, I was like, this isn't right. And there was an opportunity to start a business. It was kind of an emerging new industry where there were these agents or brokers in the middle of families and the facilities that are available for people to choose from when they're looking for assisted care. So
give us an example of what was wrong.
Well,
some of the things that you saw that were wrong.
So there's over 2,000 licensed assisted living facilities just in Maricopa County, and many of those
2,000 licensed.
And,
okay.
Yeah, and many of them are of the small assisted living home or group home variety.
Okay.
Many of those are now run by people that English is their second language. We have a huge
Filipino population.
with
Yes.
a huge Romanian population.
Yes.
So I have my client sitting, and I'm the nurse visiting, and I see my client watching The Price is Right in Tagalog, right? And you go, do they speak any other language besides English or Tagalog here? You know, when do the residents get to speak English, and who's speaking to them in English? And so families would then come to a guy like me and help them guide to either a Filipino family who takes care of people who use English with their residents, or English speaking. And it's a requirement, but it doesn't always practice or play out that way.
Because what you're saying is that the assumption is that us as sons, daughters of the loved one that we're going to put into an assisted living facility,
Right.
that by the fact that we just place him or her there, that they're going to be taken care of. But that is not what happens.
That's not what happens at all. And so just because you have one on your street doesn't make it the right place for your mom and dad.
Okay.
And so there's many factors that go into when my staff and I meet with a family and start to evaluate what would be best for mom and dad. If grandma is 82 years old and she's still active and going to I don't know, the art museum, or she likes to go to plays or ball games and things, a group home probably isn't the right situation for her. She needs to be in one of these assisted living centers where they have a van or a bus that takes people out, and they still have karaoke, and they have entertainment come in, and they have outside activities. But you can see people getting shoehorned into places. Our healthcare system works with a lot of agents who don't take all these considerations into, and language just being one of them, but finances is one, and activity levels is one, and the level of process of the disease, if they have a dementia, how long. Sure. That's a particular important factor that my staff and I are trained to kind of comb out of the situation, so that we can help families then look at the right situations.
And indeed, there is not enough prevention for dementia.
No.
We have a very dear friend of ours, Dr. John Denbour, who's developed through smart brain aging, he's developed a process, a product that prevents.
It prevents the progression of the disease. So as I've met with Dr. Denbour and some of the clients that I work with, when they've got a little bit or the early signs of dementia, that's the perfect time to meet Dr.
John.
Stage 2. Yeah, that's perfect, because that's when they can start to intervene, and it elongates and slows down the progression of the disease, and you experience their loved one for a longer period of time.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And in fact, anybody that is turning 60, that's probably the right time to start.
You have no idea how many 50s and 60-year-old folks I see in within a year.
Wow.
I mean, that are already experiencing parts of the disease or some facet of the disease. Since 2003, Options opened, I've worked with well over 2,000 families. So
they have to be incredibly thankful. I mean, this is going to be one of the most rewarding jobs that you've ever had as an entrepreneur.
it's beyond it's beyond that. I never expected, when you start out on your journey as doing your own thing,
Right.
I just wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to go to day baseball games. You know, I mean, really, I wanted Diamondbacks tickets on a Wednesday afternoon. I wanted to play golf during the week when the rest of the world was working. Those are the things that fired me up. And we were just talking to a gentleman earlier about what's your why. My why was really small in 2003. It's like I didn't want to be told what to do anymore, and I wanted to go to day baseball. But once you start to walk on the journey, now you start to see the landscape differently, and you start to see, wait a minute, this isn't right. I want to respond to that need, and I want to respond to this need. And so over the couple of thousand families we worked with, there was a need that appeared about 7 years ago to us too. And the industry that I represent has been around about 22, 24 years. People like me have been doing this. We are at 14, but we're a non-licensed, non-regulated industry. So there was a lot of complaining going on.
I was going to say, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing?
Well, I'm a capitalist, and I'm more right than left, and so I believe less government intervention is better for my business. But there's also people that take full advantage of that, and their business practices are really out of bounds, let's say, and really stretch people's patience. And so I was involved in some advocacy groups down at the Area Agency on Aging, and there was an outcry for somebody to do something about those people that were way out of bounds. And so what we did was set up a nonprofit trade association to establish best practices, code of ethics, professional behaviors. We have several hundred members now that buy into this program of self-regulation, self-monitoring, being accountable to each other.
And so you have folks that have joined this organization, and they're saying they're essentially abiding by this code of ethics, abiding by these rules. And in doing what you do, where do you see options for living going to the future as an entrepreneur now?
Yeah.
Because the industry, of course, is changing, and with all the medical regulations and so on and so forth.
And there's a lot of change coming.
A lot of change coming down.
Here's the reality: the demographics are unbelievable. There are well over 100,000 80-year-olds in Maricopa County.
Just in Maricopa County?
Just in Maricopa County.
Wow.
So you're talking about literally how many hundreds of thousands of people in the next 20 years are going to need help from a guy like me or from a company like Options, right? So we help a few hundred a year find a place.
Right.
Well, when I'm telling you there's hundreds of thousands of people to serve over the next 20 years. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, myself and many others see the senior living industries and the affiliated industries as a phenomenal market to get into.
Right.
Now, do you have the heart for it? Are you the kind of person that wants to serve people, or are you just out to scalp and bake, take your scalps and make your money? It seems like the people that are at our passers, that's the association and the group and the people that I affiliate with, these are the good-hearted folks. These are the people that give a rip about people, and they care about the outcomes. They're not looking to get a score, make their deal, and then move on or do it again. They really want to see successful outcomes for families and provide high caliber professional service. So for that person who's that entrepreneur, this arena, and because it's not regulated, we attract a lot of people in. So
here in Arizona, because of the weather, because there is nothing but growth.
That's right.
Is what you see, and you are trying to. By being a pioneer and a leader in your industry, what you're trying to do is to prevent the government from coming in and establishing rules and regulation by establishing a nonprofit organization that has set out some rules for yourselves.
Do you have a second? I'll tell you one more quick story here.
It's your show.
In the last few weeks, we were notified that there was a bill introduced into the House of Representatives that the legislators that authored the bill were out of Prescott, and they were attempting to address a problem in their community. It's largely around these issues of sober living, recovery programs, and treatment. And so there was some brokering of people from the East Coast coming into the Prescott community, going to these recovery and these alcohol rehab programs, not always being successful, and then they were becoming homeless and just part of the community, and the community was in an uproar about all this thing. So their attempt was to kind of regulate this industry by cutting off the brokerage or referral fees, and I get paid on a referral fee basis. So the families don't pay us anything. The receiving facilities pay us a prearranged commission or referral fee. That's how we get paid. So their idea was to stop this business by cutting out brokerage fees. Well, the language that they used would have put us all out of business that serve the seniors, and it was way too broad. And so I talked to the Department of Health Services, because as a nonprofit trade association, our job, part of our role is advocacy work, not just fundraising. So we went and met with the legislators and protected our industry and talked to those guys that authored and sponsored that bill, and offered to write the language for the exclusions. And so, yeah, I want to protect with my partners. I want to protect our business and start to carve out the niche that we are with the government so that we have a protected, because the healthcare system, hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, hospice and home health, they refer to guys like us because they don't know the industry, or they don't know the way around the senior living world the way that we do. So they depend on us. So the hospital, so if you take us out of the equation, they're going to have a very difficult time doing what they got to do, is get people out of the healthcare system
and
back
the
home.
families would not have the knowledge to go to the correct or the right facility
They have no
for
idea,
their loved
because
ones.
there's all these issues. Yeah.
Because there was all these issues that
yeah.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal thing. That is Options for Senior Living, Scott Fischer. You're going to have to come to the radio show, because we got to do an entire thing about
We'd
this.
love to do that, yeah.
In particular here, like you said, here in Maricopa County. I mean, we have, how many people here in Maricopa County? What, 6 million?
I don't know.
Something like
3,
that.
4, 5,
Everybody's
6
like,
million.
I don't know. Google it, please. Somebody.
Hey, 35 years ago when I got here, there was a little over 1 million, but now there's 4 million or something. I mean,
There
it's
you go.
nuts. Yeah.
Something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
100,000, it's a big number here in Maricopa County.
Glad to come back and talk some more.
Thanks, man. I
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Okay.
With that, we're out.